Ladies and gentlemen, check this out. I have the Diavel 1260 in front of me. I'm going to be taking this bike out for a little bit, riding it around like I normally do in my videos. We're going to be mostly riding around, and I'm going to tell you what I think of the bike, how it makes me feel. Not used to riding a bike like this, being as big and as heavy as it is. It's rather difficult to explain how I feel about it right away. But first impressions, it's a pretty big bike, but it is super comfortable, man. This chair that I'm sitting on right now is super plush. It's something that I can ride for a pretty long time and not get tired, like I do with the traditional Panigales that I've been accustomed to on my channel and that you've been accustomed to on my channel. But with this bike, I feel like now that I'm riding more and more upright bikes, and now that I'm getting the feeling for more of these upright bikes, and I like them more and more. If you haven't seen my video of the F900R, which is a naked bike, make sure to check that one out. That was an upright bike as well. And I also did the BMW Scrambler. Those are awesome bikes, and they were also upright, so I'm glad that I'm starting to ride these upright bikes because they have a lot to offer. Initially, I was very interested in the sexy bikes, which was the Panigale series, the sport bikes, all that stuff. They just make my blood boil, and I'm sure it does the same thing for you. But these other kind of bikes that I'm riding, like the Diavel right now, which is I would put that in a cruiser category. I wouldn't put it so much in a sport category. I would put it more in a cruiser category. The bike that I'm riding right now is a brand new bike. It's literally got next to nothing on it. No miles, absolutely no miles. I'll check everything out in a little bit. But this is my first time riding a Diavel. I've never ridden a Diavel before. It's my first experience. So everything that I'm going to be talking to you right now is from a first experience perspective. FEP, FEP. This is my FEP, first experience perspective video. And as I mentioned, it's a pretty comfortable bike. But this kind of bike is meant for like long cruises. It's meant for your Sunday where you just want to chill, relax. So like the traditional Ducati bikes, because this thing is here, that means it's got a hydraulic clutch, which already means it's a quality product. I like that. Big Ducati logo here, reminding you that you're riding something truly special. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the mirrors don't vibrate at all. So you can ride this thing, cruise along. No vibration coming from the mirrors at all. Let's see what happens when we speed up a little bit later on. But for now, so far, so good. The bike that I'm riding right now is the base model. It does not have a quick shifter, and it does not have Öhlins suspension. There'd be no way for me to test out the Öhlins suspension anyways, because we need to be on a tight, twisty road for that. And unfortunately, we don't have that. These are test bikes, and I'm not given the option to do anything else except take it for a regular ride like I am now. So I'm sorry about that. But for now, I can tell you a couple of things that are completely applicable to my riding experience at the current moment. Just cruising along as most people who would buy this bike do with it. Yes, there will be people who take this bike and they will go to the canyons. I think for the most part, these bikes are mostly used in roads like this just to cruise along, relax, take their mind off of things. I can completely understand that. If I were to buy this bike, I would definitely get it with the quick shifter option. Actually, any bike would do much better with a quick shift option. I've just been so incredibly spoiled with all the recent bikes that I've been riding. They've all had quick shifters, and it makes the ride a joyful experience. But getting back to the bike in itself, it is, as I mentioned, it is a pretty heavy bike right now. Once you're riding this bike, you do not feel like this thing is a heavy beast, because as you can tell, I'm slaloming back and forth and it does not feel heavy at all. I think that's pretty cool, because you'd think that something like this would be pretty intimidating to ride, pretty big to ride, but I'm not exactly a big, huge person, and I've never seen a small person ride this kind of bike. But for those people that are small or smaller, this bike would fit you very well, and if you're big, then all the better. So as far as size is concerned, I'm a 30-inch inseam, and this bike seems to fit me pretty well. It's got a pretty short seat. I'm assuming that the seat is anywhere between 30 and 31 inches. Now the Ducatis that are coming out these days have these big, gigantic dashes. They're following the trend of most companies, and with the V2 you have the 4.3-inch display, and then with the other bikes like the V4S you get a little bit bigger display. But I think I saw a Diavel from a few years ago, and it didn't have a display at all. But it seems like this one, it's got a small 2-3 inch display. Still gives pretty good information. Gives you a good readout of your RPMs, your miles per hour, what gear you're in. It's got different modes. Right now I'm in touring mode, as it's telling me. Engine temperature, and how much fuel I have. It's got a fuel indicator, which is pretty awesome. I wish Ducati puts a fuel indicator in all their motorcycles. Why they don't do it, I have no idea. Come on, Ducati, you got to put this fuel indicator on your V2s and the V4s and the Panigale series. Everybody's asking for it. Why aren't you doing it? Looks like Orange County's in full swing. If I'm not mistaken, this bike has a serious amount of torque. And although it's a brand new bike, I'd love to thrash it around, but it's probably not a good idea. I'm gonna let this baby break in, but I can tell you that just you know, pulling the throttle back, just twisting the throttle, this thing has got plenty of torque. It's a muscle bike, you know. I mean, if I would put this in any kind of category, I would consider this like a muscle bike, if anything. Cruising along at 3rd gear. Let's see if it's if the throttle is gonna choke on me. Not really. I mean, it doesn't seem to choke like it's gonna gasp for air and stall. But it does like higher revs though. Like 13 miles an hour right now, and it's kind of jumpy. Now we're talking. This is cruising speed for this bike. This is what it likes. 6th gear doing 65 miles an hour at 4,000 RPM with a gorgeous scenic view on my left. This is the kind of place that you would ride this kind of bike. This is the kind of scenery that you would enjoy when you ride something like this. I can imagine owning one of these things and riding it in this kind of area. Underneath me, you got this huge, gigantic power plant. It has some vibration, and I definitely feel it. When you're riding this bike, it makes you feel everything. I feel a lot of vibration coming from my seat right now, from the tank. But I like that though. It's a very visceral feeling. You don't forget that the bike is beneath you. You don't forget that you're riding this thing. So right now we're in 5th gear, and I'm gonna do sort of an aggressive brake. Brakes are good. Brakes are pretty good. Shifting is pretty smooth as well. Clunks into the gears nicely. At 60 miles an hour, its happy spot is 5th gear. I put it to 6th gear, and it's a little bit sluggish. And I think if you go down to 4th gear at 50-60 miles an hour, I think that's even happier. Now I'm at 6th gear right now, and I twist the throttle, and it's got a vibration as if, I don't like 6th gear, what are you doing? I want to be in the low rev ranges, take me back there. It's a Ducati, it wants to be thrashed around, what do you expect? I don't blame it. I love coming here, it's so pretty. Beach is one of my favorite places. Love the water, love the sand, love the sun, and I'm starting to love this bike. Check it out. Alright, that was nice. Let's get back on the road and continue this. Oh boy. Alright, you want to know one thing I don't like about this already? How can I even get my hand in here? I'm supposed to push this until the engine starts, but it's impossible to get your fingers in there.
A few moments later.
Alright. Sounds angry. Sounds beastly. My style. I like that. Well, this angry beast has nowhere to go right now because there's traffic. The tire in the back is so fat. I have never seen a tire that big before on a motorcycle. It's got bigger tires than this Honda Civic right here. Overall, I like the bike, and I think it's an awesome bike. It's meant for someone who's interested in purchasing something like a Harley, but they don't want to buy the Harley brand. They want something more refined, a bit more muscular, chiseled, and you know, the Ducati brand. They're looking for a Ducati. They would buy something like this. the person who buys this bike is going to be in for a special treat, because this baby is nice, man. It's a really, really nice, pleasurable bike to ride, and I like it a lot. Plenty of power, plenty of torque, and once again, stay tuned for the full review. This is just a first impression video, and as far as first impressions are concerned, I like it. I like it a lot. Nice and tossable, nice and flickable. Look at this thing. This thing is a monster of a bike. It weighs so much, but man, it's flickable. I could ride this bike for hours and I would not be tired one bit. Engine is pretty cool, 167 degrees. But the air temperature at the current moment is over 80 degrees. So this bike doesn't really get that hot. Not at all. Not like a Panigale series. It's 80 degrees right now, and if I rode the V4S or the V2, I would be feeling pretty hot. But for the most part, this seems to be a pretty cool bike, figuratively and aesthetically. Once again, the brakes are good. Approve. Oh, you know what? I haven't even talked about the sound. Sounds good. It's got a muscle bikey sound to it. It's far different than the Panigale series, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about many times. But it's got a different sound to it. Alright, so the engine temperature is 201 at the moment, and on my left hand side I do feel heat coming out, and it's very hot to the touch. It's a good thing that I have riding jeans on, so it's one thing to note. It's 206 actually, 208. Okay, so if I'm sitting and I'm not moving around, the bike gets seriously hot. 210. Oh yeah, I feel more heat coming out. 212. It just keeps going up. Alright, so I was waiting at a light for about 5 minutes, and the engine temperature went from less than 200 to 200, almost 220. It was at 219. And I felt considerable amount of heat on my left side, considering my left foot was down. So it's one thing to note. It's not unbearable like a Panigale series would be. I'm just giving you my first impression. Alright, looks like we are at the end of this first impression ride of the Diavel 1260. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me once again. This has been a first impression video of the Diavel 1260, and I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed making it for you. So once again, please don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to the channel. If you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to find out when the next video is going to be coming out in the series for the Diavel. I'm going to include a couple of different videos. I'm going to do a dash review for it, and I'm going to do a full review, as I already mentioned. But all that's to come. Until then, stay tuned, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.